One of the biggest mistakes I see business owners make when they're trying to grow their business is they look too much at other people and they rely too heavily on what other people are telling them works instead of focusing on their own business. And I'm going to explain to you why this is a flawed phrase. And I say this kind of from a place of irony because I am a consultant, right? I do consult for other businesses. I give them advice and I try to look at their business, as a holistic sense and get them where they want to go without the normal overwhelm and stress that comes with scaling a business. Okay, so I do understand that it's ironic for me to lead off like that, where you shouldn't rely on other people. But I'm going to explain to you the difference between looking at your friends, between looking at your competitors, and getting solid advice from somebody who's a third party and looking at your business objectively. Now, this isn't to sell you on my services. This is really just to tell you, avoid the biggest problem that people run into when they're advertising and when they're trying to grow their business, okay? Which is that relying too heavily on other people without understanding the other person's business exactly. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. Don't rely on other people because your business is not in a vacuum. All right, so there's something called confounding factors. Now, in research that investigates a potential cause and effect relationship, a confounding variable is an unmeasured third variable that influences both the supposed cause and the supposed effect. Okay, so when you're getting advice from other people, understand that there are variables that affect their business that don't affect you, and vice versa. Right? You have things in your business that affect you that your competitor doesn't have, that your friend Mark down the street doesn't have. And your friend Mark down the street might have something in his business that you don't even know about, that he doesn't even think about when giving you advice. Right? And he might be looking at the business in a completely different way because he has a different goal. And for example, I was talking to somebody today in the e-commerce space, and he sells this incredible product, very, very smart kid. And he's trying to grow his business, right? Trying to get more sales, trying to get more traction. And when I was giving him advice, I was giving him advice from a place of e-com brands instead of a place of drop shipping, which is what he was really doing. And I realized that the goal that I had was, okay, it's what I do for my clients, right? On the initial sale, if we're profitable, great, that's a luxury. But most of the revenue comes from the back end, right? That second, third, and fourth purchase. But since he was in drop shipping, which I didn't even register, he had to be profitable on the first sale. And so his margins were like 78% because of that fact. And so I realized that, okay, the advice that I'm giving him isn't going to be good. It's not going to help him because it's all based on long term. And he doesn't have the cash flow to sustain that like my clients do and like I do for my personal businesses. So we got to figure out the advice here, right? And so that is a confounding factor, is his idea of success was completely different from my ideas of success for him. Okay? And so your business as a whole also has confounding factors because the things that you say in your advertising get different people than somebody else who's saying something different, right? Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, all those brands, right? They say different things in their advertising, even though they're selling the same product and technically have the same audience. They say different things in their advertising to get different groups of people. Okay, this is why people are so divided on where they like to get fast food. Exact same thing goes for Apple and Samsung. Samsung targets a completely different demographic of people than Apple does, right? And that's why there's different groups of people, even though it's the same product, that respond to those things. So if Samsung is looking at Apple and trying to get advice, and they look at Apple's business, just as it is, and they say, oh, this is the exact type of business from us, and they put out advertising that's exactly like Apple's, well, people aren't really going to respond to it very well because they're not Apple, right? Samsung is not Apple and they never will be, and that's okay. But if they put out advertising trying to collect customers like Apple does, it's going to seem weird. It's going to come off bad. It's not going to work because their business isn't set up like Apple's, right? Their pricing structures are different than Apple's. Their product lines are different than Apple's, right? It's a different business even though the product is the same. So when you're looking at the competition and you're kind of breaking down their results, right? And you're looking at what you're doing and looking at what they're doing, make sure that you understand that your business is not the same as everybody else's. Your business is not in a vacuum. Every single factor has to be the exact same on your business and theirs for the advice that you are giving yourself from looking at their business to actually matter or mean anything. Right? So this goes this exact same for ads, right? When Meta Ads Library came out, that was one of the worst things for my clients ever because they could now see what their competition was doing and they were like, oh, we have to do all this because they're all doing all this. right? But if you're using Meta Ads Library to run ads for yourself, make sure that you're using them as a framework, not a map on like how to structure your ads, right? So you're not like looking at it like, oh, this is exactly what we have to do. This is the exact type of photo that we have to use, the exact type of video. We're going to structure our copy the exact same way. We're going to put the link in the exact same spot. The emojis are going to be the exact same. Don't do that. Use it as a framework, right? Not an exact map that you have to replicate every single time. Don't copy your customer stuff, right? Your competition's relationship with their audience is completely different. Their spend is different. Their sales page is different. Their customer experience is different. The list goes on and on. And they might have a higher allowable customer acquisition cost than you do. So they might not put as much effort into their ads because they can spend 2 times as much on their ads as you can. But if you see the ads that they're putting out, and they're putting out crap ads and you try to copy that because you think that that's what's working for them, you're going to put out crap ads as well, and you're going to get bad customer acquisition costs, but you can't afford it, yet they can. And so that's a huge problem people run into when they're using Meta Ads Library or anywhere that you can spy in your competition's advertising, because you don't have that same relationship. Your business, again, is not in a vacuum, right? Your relationship with your customers is different. Your allowable customer acquisition cost is different. Everything is different. And so when you try and base big decisions off of a very flimsy foundation, you're going to get flimsy results and things that just don't work, right? So when you copy their deployments, when you copy their ads and their promos and their campaigns, you're betting that you're the exact same. You are placing a bet that your business and your relationship with your customers, every part of your advertising is the exact same as theirs, right? Your long-term goals, your allowable customer acquisition costs, your relationship with your customers, the way that you have your backend set up, your delivery system, right? The way your website looks, everything. You're betting that it's the exact same. Not even one thing is different. And you're always going to be wrong because there's always going to be something that's different. I can promise you that because I've done this 1,000 times. So here's some frameworks that I use when I'm looking at my ads, right? This is the way that, or this is really the way that I model other people's stuff that I think is working, okay? So use other people's promos and offers as frameworks to guide you when you're building your own, but don't copy them exactly. Outline the approach and adapt to your customers. The things that you say to your email list are completely different than the things that you say in your ads. So why would you say the same thing to your audience as someone else says in theirs? One of the biggest problems that I ran into when I was starting out as a consultant in the space a very long time ago was I was looking at the guys who were crushing it. Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Frank Kern, Taylor Welch, Gary Vee, all these guys that were just crushing it in the consultant space. I was like, oh my God, I need to copy this. And so I copied it. Well, the problem is those guys had millions of dollars to spend. I had $100 a day. Those guys had an extremely established customer base. I had my mom and dad liking my Facebook page. Those guys had the ability to spend, $1,000 to acquire a customer because they would make $100,000 from them. And then I had the maybe a $5 opt-in, cost that I could allow. I didn't have the money to spend that they did. And so I copied their advertising thinking that it was all the same, and it wasn't. And it just, for a very long time, that's what held me back, is trying to copy people that were at completely different levels of the game than I was. Trying to copy businesses that were at a completely different space in the business space than I was, right? And trying to copy other people who didn't have my business, okay? And so again, like I said at the beginning, I know that as a consultant, that might come off at the beginning as not relying on other people to give you advice, that might come off like that. And the reason that it's not is because when you hire somebody that's a consultant, their job is to understand your business as your business. Their job is not to look at, oh, okay, well, we found success one time and it worked really, really well for this person over here. We're going to copy the exact process for you. That's not their job. Their job is to look at your business, understand where you're at, and then understand where you want to go. And then that gap is their job. To get you closer to where you want to go is their job. And then they'll look at your business, the assets that you have, the things that you have at your disposal to get you to that spot, whether that's through optimization, whether that's through stabilizing the business or expanding to new things, whatever it is, their job is to close that gap by using your business, not by using templates and cookie cutter frameworks that have worked for other people, right? Not by trying to use what's worked for their business for yours. Okay? Their job is to close that gap for you. And if they don't do it, then they're not a good consultant, right? They're not somebody that you can actually trust on and rely on for good advice. They're supposed to look at your business and help you, right? Not give you a framework, not give you a template or a model for you to copy and just kind of get maybe the same results as somebody else. Because somebody else's results, if you copy them exactly, their results are always going to be your ceiling. Okay, so if they're doing, $250,000 a month, that's going to be your ceiling. You'll never go higher than that. If they're getting 100 purchases a day, and you copy them exactly, the best you can do is 100 purchases a day. That's your ceiling. Okay, so if you liked that video, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do one of three things. If you go to creativeroas.com, you'll have the opportunity to either get a full breakdown of my specific proprietary system for growth, where we strip away everything from the business and grow from the inside out and move the business forward, generate more profits without the normal overwhelm and anxiety and stress that usually comes with that. Or the second option is you can get a full breakdown of the email system that we use for people who sell products. This is for e-commerce brands, info product brands. It works for people who sell services as well, but it's best if people can make an immediate purchase directly on the email. Okay, it's a two-step process, text-based emails and something we call the super system for emails that I learned a very long time ago that I've used for all my clients. It's really, really cool. That's the second thing that you can get. And the third thing that you can get is probably, the one that helps the most. And that's where you can get a full breakdown of your business and understand that gap for your business and where you are and where you want to get to, and get an actual customized plan of growth for getting yourself there. And the way that you can do that, you can book a call with me or somebody on my team, and we'll walk through all of it for you. We'll walk through all of it with you. It's not a sales call. There's no hard selling or shenanigans or anything like that. We'll just kind of look at your business, where you're at, where you want to go, how we can get that gap, closed, and how we can get you closer to that Z mark, right? If you're at A, B, C, D, wherever you're at, we'll get you closer to Z. Okay? So go to creativeroas.com and I will see you over there again. I hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you so much for watching.